Yeah, I don't have one. It's good to be back with you. I really don't have too much to say in terms of an opening statement other than that, we got together on Sunday after the game, tried to correct what went poorly in the Colorado State game, tried to emphasize and teach off of what went well. I know it is a refrain that people are probably getting tired of hearing, but I am very proud of the fact that we scored 21 unanswered, put it in for a 28th that just happened to come back out, and that we fought back and had a chance to tie that game. Unfortunately, we didn't finish. Last year's deal was you guys start off good, but you don't finish. This year, we're outscoring the opponent in the second half. I think we're outscoring the opponent in the fourth quarter. Why it is that we don't come out a little bit faster, why we have had to play from behind the last 2 weeks and play really in desperation mode. That is something that I've thought long and hard about, and that we're going to make a point of emphasis this week about. We need to start faster and not play from behind. This will be a challenge. At BYU is not an easy place to play. Homecoming, you're never pleased to be somebody's homecoming opponent. Another night game. I feel like I would bribe somebody to play, a 1 o'clock start at this point. It's there are a lot of things that we have to deal with, and we simply, we can't make any excuses. We just got to go. I mean, to be honest with you, the most difficult part of Saturday night was after the game, a couple of players, and one in particular, came to find me, and one guy in particular was crying and essentially saying, "We have bought in, we're doing everything you guys are asking us to do, why does this keep happening to us?" And I understand that frustration coming from a young person, and frankly I understand it coming from a player's perspective, because hopefully I will coach for a lot of years here, but your window as a player is finite. I mean, you only get so many games. So I can understand their frustration, and frankly the only answer I have is they have bought in. I am very proud of the fight that we've shown. We're not where we had hoped to be, but that if we don't continue to fight and persevere, nothing good's going to happen. I mean, it's the whole mantra of the keep chopping wood. We got to keep swinging the axe. And while it would be great to sit here at 5-1 or even 4-2 for that matter, we are 3-3. We're not 0-6, and there are a lot of goals still left in front of us in this season. And there are a lot of great things that we can still do, and the first challenge will be Saturday night. BYU, I mean, everybody's going to, everybody pointed at BYU and said that could be the bracket buster, for lack of a better term. That could be that team outside of the Power Five that might end up in the playoff. And obviously they've suffered some very serious injuries. I understand that. I actually said that to the BYU media this morning. Every team goes through it through the course of a season, but some years are worse than others. I felt like we were snake-bitten last year. Clearly, I'm sure their faithful feel like they're a little bit snake-bitten this year. Obviously, the loss of Taysom Hill is a very significant loss. He was one of the, if not the most dynamic football player in the country. When you look back at the game we played last year, the way that he was able to extend plays and, for that matter, extend drives by scrambling and getting first downs. The dual threat that he had become. He's always been a great runner, but he had had improved significantly as a passer. Clearly they're not the same without him. Jamal Williams, who's a great back, has been hurt. Jordan Leslie, great wide receiver, has been dealing with an ankle. On the defensive side, at one point in the UCF game, the 4 starting defensive backs from the beginning of the season are not out there. Fu is a great pass rusher. He's been hobbled by an ankle. But while all that is there, it still comes down to matchups, and the reason that this one is going to be difficult for us is that they're huge. And no matter if Taysom Hill is out there or not, when your starting offensive line is 330, 325, 280, 303, and 333, and they can just lean on you, that is going to be the challenge for us. And then when their defensive front is 6'4", 280, 6'2", 285, and 6'4", 271. And by the way, Tuiloma, even though 6'2", 285, looks like he could bench press a Volkswagen, because the way he picks centers up and just throws them around is incredible. I mean, this guy's got to be, I don't know his strength numbers, but when you watch him play, he looks like he might be the strongest guy on the team with the way he just locks people out and then throws them to the side. They got a 6'7", 265-pound linebacker. Pretty big linebacker. He might be the backup left tackle for us. He's bigger than Jake Henry. So, while they're not exactly as explosive as they were at the beginning of the year, there is a matchup concern here for us. So we've got to do a great job of not being swallowed up by these offensive linemen. We can't get down. If we get down in the middle of a block, Ian Sale might disappear. I mean, you may not see him. So we've got to be on edges. We've got to be in gaps. We've got to be running around. And Stewart's good enough to extend plays with his feet, but he's not the runner that Hill was. I've heard rumblings of a Wildcat package for Kai Nakua. They talked about it on the air at the UCF game, that they've been repping him at quarterback some. I wouldn't be shocked if we saw that. We are preparing for it. So, we'll see what happens. We will go out today in shoulder pads, and we'll get to work. And I came in yesterday. The bottom line is we got an opportunity right here in front of us. They're a good football team on the road. We got 2 weeks in a row now on the road, and then we got to go battle. That's what we got to do. We got to go battle, and we cannot think about what happened on a Saturday night. It's dead and buried. I mean, it's got to go away, and in my mind it has. So, with that, take any questions.
Your defensive front did a pretty good job against the run the other night, and I think it's probably a pretty quick defensive front. Can that help you going up against an oversized O-line? I do. I think our athleticism could be something that would help even this matchup up. Yes, I think, and I hope that we can play that way. That our quickness can try to negate some of their size. Is there anything you can do, obviously without giving anything away, is there anything you can do schematically to try to give them some help too?
Sure.
I figured that was good. I think BYU is the third team you guys have already faced that's going to have more than a week time preparation. Has that entered your thoughts at all?
Yes, it has, but it's back to one of those control the controllables. I mean, there are things like, why do we play? Why do I feel like every time we play I get home at 1:30 or 3 in the morning? I mean, I can't control those things. When you sit and think about it, it becomes frustrating. why when the schedule was set up do we have people that always have a day or two extra to get ready for us? I can't control that. So it is frustrating. I can't control the fact that BYU's got 88 players that went on a mission. I can't control the fact that they have players that are 25 years old and have children. It's the nature of who they are. It's the nature of the schedule. It's the nature of television. These are things that we cannot control, and when I sit there and have nothing else to think about, it becomes a little frustrating, but it's a waste of energy anyway.
And does that I know you're obviously focused on BYU, but does that shorten next week as well? Given I think you're leaving a day early for Hawaii.
Yeah, next week. I mean, obviously, as the head coach, I have to be a little bit in front of the team in terms of the planning part of it, but I do have concerns about. I mean, I was not happy when BYU was picked for a 7:15 local start, because now you get home at 2, 3 in the morning, and then you got to turn around and make a flight to Hawaii. I mean, when the schedule came out, I was very hopeful that it would be an afternoon game, but it's not. And when our Mountain West games are set for night, it's by our television partners, people that we are in business with. And when you're in business with a partner and that's a mutual relationship, I have no complaint. That's the nature of TV contracts. But we're not, we don't receive anything but exposure on ESPN2 for this one. And to be honest with you, I'd prefer that exposure to be in the afternoon and not at night. But again, we're talking about things that I have that frankly, Doug Newth, myself, we have zero control over this stuff. So what's the point?
Back to the run D, I guess a little bit too. Jamal Williams and Hill both had really big run games last week. Are your defensive guys? Excuse me, last year.
Last year, yes. I was going to say if Hill had one last week,
Are your guys taking that personal this year? Or?
No. I mean, it was a 25-28. What was the final? 25-28 or 23-28? It was a one-score game against the team that had beaten the ever-living dog out of Texas. And it's a game where, you know what we're taking personally from last year's game? 3 trips to the red zone and 7 points. That's what we're talking about. I mean, they ran on everybody, including the Longhorns. So the bottom line is that we had a chance to, it was a 5-point game, and when we were playing for nothing other than pride and our future. And I mean, I look at that game as a positive experience. But I also know that one of the reasons that we lost the game was that in the first half, we had it inside their 23 times. We scored a touchdown, either had a field goal blocked or missed it, and then threw a pick on a fade route to win. And that's a good team. You can't go into the red zone 3 times and come out with 7 points. So if there's anything we're talking about from last year's game, we're talking about that.
Red zone defense hasn't been as sharp the last 2 games as opposed to earlier in the season. What has been the issue in forcing field goals out there and allowing touchdowns?
The sudden change has got something to do with it. I mean, they got rolled out there, certainly in the Boise game, in some inopportune positions. I really think the problem right now on the defense is the details, is guys trying to do more than just simply their job. And if you go back and look at the balls that went over our head against Colorado State, that's got a lot to do with it. Somebody's supposed to be in the deep third, and there's an underneath breaking route, and this is a pick, and they jump it, except the ball doesn't get thrown there. It gets thrown. I mean, there's no call in the defensive playbook that can solve ball thrown over your head. I mean, you got to keep the ball in front of you. And I think some of that has been guys trying to do too much, just trying to make plays that aren't there, trying to farm somebody else's land. Everybody, I mean, my message to the defense Sunday was we've got to get back to everybody simply just doing their job and executing their own responsibility, and stop trying to do too much. And that happened to us, unfortunately. And I was shocked, to be honest with you. I didn't think that's how the points were going to come. I was scared to death about the zone running game and D. Hart getting loose the way he has, and then play action shots. But I didn't see big chunk plays coming on 3rd and 12. I thought that would be an advantageous down and distance for us, and I was wrong.
When you do have a road game and it's a late start, I guess, what do you guys do for the entire day? I guess, what do you keep them?
Play wiffle ball. No. That's actually a true story. Jim Harbaugh did play wiffle ball once in a ballroom with the Stanford team at a night game. We try very hard not to let anybody lie around the whole day. We never let them go more than 2-3 hours at a time without having something mandatory to come out of their room. What you don't want them to do is just lie there in bed and have it turn into a coma. We do physical things. We do something we call flow, which is about a 15 to 20 minute active warm-up where we expect them to break a sweat, with the theory being with so many night games we need to have our muscles firing and we need to have our blood flowing and not just lay around like a lump. But none of this is earth-shattering. This is what a lot of people do, and this was a lot of what our off-season study was, and talking to other coaches that face schedules like this. I specifically found coaches that had played a ton of night games over the last 2 years and asked them what they did to try and find a better way. So, it's not easy. It's tricky. And believe it or not, a night game in the East feels different than a night game on the West, because if you're sitting around, if you wake up at 6 a.m. like I do on Saturday because you can't sleep, and you turn ESPN on, and Lee Corso and Kirk Herbstreit are going already at 6 a.m. By the time you hit 5 in the afternoon in the Pacific time, it feels like the world is shutting down, except for our time zone. And maybe that's just me because I'm not used to living out here. I've spent the majority of my life back in other time zones. So, but we are the late game. My father's so old he hasn't seen the second half in a bunch of weeks now. My mother had to teach him how to DVR it, and when I get upset voicemails on Sunday, that means he just finished watching it. So,
Is there something Stewart does better than Hill?
No. Quite honestly.
And Hill,
he's good, but Hill's the starter for a reason. If Stewart did stuff better, he'd have been the starter. So that's not to say that I don't respect Stewart or that he's not a good player. He is. He's not Taysom Hill. That's like saying, hey, what does Dante Mays do better than Cody Fajardo? Currently, nothing.
Hill, he was a good passer, maybe not a great passer. Does that make them a little more one-dimensional then?
No, he improved. You look at some of the long balls he completed early in the season. I felt like he had improved as a passer. That was clear that they had emphasized that with him in the offseason. I thought he was much improved as a passer. Does it make it more one-dimensional? I don't think I don't think the quarterback can beat you with his legs alone the way Hill could. Hill was capable of throwing the ball 7 times in a game and still winning by a bunch because he's an exceptional runner. I think it probably balances them out a little bit more, to be honest with you. And I think you're more likely to see the ball handed off to one of the big backs, and they just try and lean on you for 3-4 yards in the beginning. And if they wear you down at the end of the game, those are 5-6 yard hits. And that's what I'm most concerned about.
Are you seeing the possibility, I guess, that maybe someone else comes in other than Stewart, or is he the guy?
No, I think that it's possible that we could see Nakua as a Wildcat package. They talked about it during the UCF broadcast that they had taken Kai and had begun to rep a package with him where the quarterback run stuff becomes the emphasis. We'll prepare for that. I think part of the reason you didn't see it in the UCF game is because with the injuries in the defensive backfield, Nakua was forced into action on defense. And I think that may have eliminated the opportunity to show that package on offense. But now they've had a couple extra days of preparation for our game, or will have, and I think that it is possible that we could see that package.
Coach, where's the confidence in the team right now?
Oh, I can't speak for them. I hope that they, when I came in on Sunday into the team room, it was awfully quiet. I felt like they were poised to get their butts ripped, and that was never my intent. We're very honest about You can't blame anybody else but ourselves for being down 31-3, and we allowed ourselves to be put in a position where an outside influence had their fingerprints on the outcome of the game. But the reality of it is, nobody put us in 31-3 except for us, and we have to take responsibility for that and get it fixed. But then the next thing I did was I put up the records of the teams of our 3 losses: 5-1, 4-2, 5-1. And then I put up the scores: lost by 7, lost by 5, lost by 7. There is progress being made here. It's certainly not as fast as I would have hoped, or because we're all competitors, we want to get there right now. But I don't think that there's any denying that there's progress being made. I mean, there were games last year that were close at the half that we got our doors blown off. This is 2 weeks in a row that we have just absolutely fought our hearts out, and we've come up a little bit short. So my challenge this week is to make sure that we keep fighting that way, and that we do not become discouraged by the fact that we have fallen a little bit short the last 2 weeks, and that we, first and foremost, stop doing the things that put us behind the 8 ball. Boy, I'd love to show some courage by leading a game from start to finish. That would be nice, to play from in front for a change. And that's going to be one of the messages today. We got to start better. We got to stop putting ourselves in a position where we're playing desperate football.
Where you thought your team would be at this point?
In terms of what, wins and losses? Because I don't look at the schedule and say, all right, that one's going to be a win, that one's going to be a loss, because that's what sports writers and fans do, but that's not what coaches do. I mean, I knew how good Colorado State was. I said it all week, and I still don't think people believe me. It's a 5-1 football team that beat BC and in Colorado. So wins and losses, I don't do that. I don't sit and look at the schedule and say, ooh, that's a win, that's a loss. We could be 8-4, great year, might be 9-3. I don't do that. I mean, we literally just take it 1 week at a time. Am I pleased with the character and the fight and all that stuff? I am. I am pleased with that. And there are some things that we just can't change. I mean, a lot of times there's 3 freshmen on the offensive line. Do I wish we had 5 redshirt seniors up there? Sure. But I know Adam Corey and Joey Engelmeyer and Austin Corbett, they get better every week. So while I'm frustrated from time to time in the moment, I also know and have evidence that they're improving every week, and that bodes well for our program. I asked, Chris asked me a question the other night. I don't know if it was after the game or somebody asked me, you talked about the love on this team, and the players have said that. We've used that word, and we don't use it lightly, that there's a love on this team, as if to say, well, why are you sitting here at 3-3 if there's a love that's on this team? I don't think one's got anything to do with the other. I think you see the fact that this team loves one another and fights for one another. You see it in the fact that we have come back from double-digit deficits in 3 different games. Unfortunately, we've just come up a little bit short. So I do see those things that we're talking about that only the team knows about. I do see the progress that we've made, and I'm as frustrated as the players are that we are sitting here at 3-3. But we can't change it. What's done is done. We can only focus on what's right in front of us.
Do you think that love is, especially important now in tough times?
Yes, of course. That's what brings you through adversity, is faith in one another and love for one another and the collective. We got to have faith in each other when nobody else does. And I don't necessarily believe that anybody in our fan base or alumni base who supports this program should lose faith. I think we've shown a lot of character this year. But that being said, when you lose 2 in a row and all of a sudden the talk becomes negative, you've got to rally and circle your wagons, and it's just about us and hanging together. And the only way to get through adversity like this is to hang together.
I'm sure you submitted that second to last half call.
I submitted about 12 calls.
What was the Mountain West reaction on that one?
I'm going to keep that between me and the Mountain West. I'll go as far to say that with the way that game was called in its entirety and the way the Mountain West came back to me and said, yeah, you're right on a bunch of these, that call would be akin to a umpire tightening a strike zone in the bottom of the ninth. It was not consistent with the way that the game was called. How many games have you ever seen, Chris, where there were 5 penalties total, no defensive pass interference, and 2 offensive pass interference? Highly, highly unusual. But again, I can't do anything about it. I mean, I'm frustrated beyond words, but there's nothing we can do about it. And I will say this: that Brett Gilliland and Ken Rivera at the league office have listened to me. They've allowed me to state my case. We've had multiple conversations. They've been very professional about it. They understand the coach's perspective, and I do appreciate the fact that they've let me talk.
Did you think your passion and animation on the sidelines hurts the team in any way? Or?
No, I do not. Do I think I can do better? Yes. But you guys see my passion and animation. Do you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, how can you judge something when you have no idea what the content of the conversation is? And I've been told over and over the officials are above reproach. They should never, right? I mean, you can't have it both ways. You can't tell me over and over that they're beyond reproach. They would never let personal bias get involved in how they call a game. It's all about the integrity of the game. Well, then, if that's the case, you can't come back to me and say, hey, you're hurting your team because they hold this against you. They've said over and over that they do not. And frankly, I thought that my interaction with the officials the other night was pretty darn good. I mean, I do get excited, but I'm not cussing anybody out. A lot of times it's, hey, what'd you see there? And a lot of it's conversational, but I just kind of function within the realm of my own personality. And the other thing is, has anybody seen me lose my mind on one of our players or coaches? Did I go Jim Mora and, has that interaction that occurred between Jim Mora and his defensive coordinator, which, yes, both are very passionate, and everybody says, well, that's just football. It didn't look good on television. Has anybody seen that happen here with me? I made an awful mistake last year at San Diego State. I was embarrassed by ESPN for it. I had to go in front of my president and my athletic director and tell them that is absolutely 100% my fault, and I will do everything I can to make sure it doesn't happen again. But at the same time, I mean, people think I'm this nut job, and I'm not. And actually, there are times when I look like I'm losing my mind, and it is very calculated. And the last time I checked, the legend that I replaced was not a choir boy either. I mean, he's a pretty animated guy, was he not? Must be something about short people. So, I mean, I'm always trying to do better. I am cognizant of that, but I'm also not afraid to function within the realm of my own personality. I can't be Tony Dungy. I can't stand there and just be stoic the whole time. It's not my personality. I have a passion for what we do. I have a passion for this team. And believe it or not, a lot of times when I get upset, it's in defense of our players.
Piggybacking off of that, well, first of all, the guy on your side, was he the side judge?
Yes.
Technically. And then the league suspended the tight end, Colorado State tight end today for targeting.
Did they really?
Yeah, Peralta.
Yes.
Apparently it was on the Hekking. It might have been on
Yeah, he asked Brock. He's got sore ribs.
Was that play?
Yes, it was. Go back and find it. Where Brock is on the pile and the guy takes a 7-yard running head start and puts his helmet into his ribs, and it's got nothing to do with the play. I did not know he'd been suspended. I appreciate the league office for doing that as well.
Do you approach this game any different than a conference game? When you want to win it?
No, they might as well be in the Mountain West. They're playing as many Mountain West teams as we are. No, I do. I look at it as our approach is the same. Everybody says, well, you still control your own fate in the western side. We control our own fate for the last 6 games. We've always controlled our own fate. We just need to do a better job of finishing.
What would a win this week do for this team?
It would make us 4-3.
Knowing that it's not a conference game and a loss would be 3 straight.
They're all big. This is no more. This is. I mean, again, that's like saying was one game bigger than the other. I mean, they're all huge. It's a 1-game season. Every game is the be all end all. And if we won this game, it would be a 4th win and a nice way to start a little bit of a stretch here. So,
Anything else for Coach?
thanks, guys.
Thank you. Questions for Cody?
Cody, what's your message going to be to your young offensive line going against obviously a very big veteran defensive front 7?
I think it's just going to be keep fighting. The way that they fought in the second half, every game, every snap, they're getting more experienced, and you can see it on tape. Throughout the game, they're continuing to get better and better. So I think they got some good confidence right now. Obviously, moving the ball down the field in the second half really helped them with that.
Coach said the team meeting Sunday was pretty quiet. Where is the team's confidence right now?
Obviously everyone has their mindset on 6-0, but 3-3 is pretty hard to swallow after losing 3 games that you could have won. Other than that, we know we still control our own fate, which is a pretty good feeling for us. We don't need a miracle to happen for us to make the Mountain West Championship or a bowl game. So a lot of our goals are in reach, and so I think there's a lot of confidence still in the team.
What do you think you guys have to do on the offensive side to put up a lot of points?
Execute. I think third down is going to be big for us. They're a highly pressured team, and 3rd and long, 3rd and 7 to 10, they pressure a lot. So for our young linemen up front and for our offense, I think we need to get in manageable 3rd downs, stay away from 3rd and long so we can execute our game plan and kind of have the whole playbook to call.
Getting a faster start, what will be the key to it?
I think energy, playing away will hopefully bring some of that energy. I think it's their homecoming, so it should be a pretty good crowd. I think guys know that we can move the ball. Guys know we can score. It's just we got to do it from the first snap to the last snap. The second half has been great for us. I think we take some of that into starting off a game, maybe to a little bit more aggressive, because that's how we've been in those 3rd and 4th quarter comebacks, kind of more aggressive. So maybe that's what we got to do in order to start off pretty good.
The inconsistencies both on offense and defense. I mean, sometimes you guys look like a top 25 team. Sometimes you can't move the ball. Is that surprising to you halfway through the season that you're still kind of fighting?
A few games, yeah, but I mean every week it's a different defense out there or a different offense, different scheme of things, different blitzes, different coverages. So a lot of times those first or second quarter struggles is kind of figuring out how they're going to play you. For us, we kind of have a unique offense where teams will have a specific game plan coming into our game as opposed to something that they stick with throughout the whole season. So it's hard for us to identify what they're doing, and the quicker we do that, the better start we get.
You were dealing with injuries last year. I guess how does your body feel halfway through this year?
Feels great. I've just been praying, to be honest. I don't know, pray about 20 times a week, and it's paid off pretty good for me. Obviously I'm healthy through 6 games, and I'm going to continue to pray and continue, hopefully, to play in every game this year.
The late starts, I think this is your 5th time in a row, 7 o'clock or later. I guess, how do you pass time waiting for the game, especially when you're on the road?
It's really hard, especially when you turn on the TV and every station's a college football game. You just want to be out there. You just want to get out on the field and start playing. Your mind starts to wander a little bit, and you start thinking about the game a little bit more, and kind of adds pressure to you. For me personally, I honestly read the Bible, and it kind of puts me at ease. And I don't try to think about the game too much. I'll take a nap, about an hour nap, and then, like I said, read the Bible, and I'm kind of in a calm place.
Could you just have an out-of-conference game in the middle pace, or do you prefer them at the beginning or the end?
You know, I think it's a good change of pace. Obviously, we know the Mountain West games are going to mean a little bit more to us, but anytime you play 12 games, so every game's probably weighted about the same, and it doesn't matter if it's Mountain West or not. We're going to go out there, we're going to try and execute our game plan and add another win to the win column.
So is this game really about just getting closer to becoming bowl eligible?
If that's one way to look at it, obviously it's not going to help us too much in the Mountain West, but it can give us confidence going into the final part of our Mountain West Conference, and also it'll bring us closer to to a bowl game, like you said.
How important is it to get wins in these next 2 road games?
I think it's huge. Confidence I've been talking about a lot, and that's what it's probably going to bring us most, is that we can win on the road, give us confidence going in, and then finishing our season off, with a couple home games here, riding high, hopefully bowl eligible, and have a chance to play for a Mountain West championship.
Is it harder to prepare for them when you don't really know who the personnel is going to be? Their top pass rusher might play, might not. Their 4 defensive backs.
I think, yeah, you pretty much hit on the nose. It's tough watching film on a team with so many injuries, because you're watching earlier games and you're like, well, this guy has different technique, different tendencies than the backup. So it is pretty tough to see, and it's always that question game: is he going to play? Is he not going to play? Do we have to prepare for him? Do we not have to prepare for him? But obviously they got good players in good positions. The guys who have came in have done a real good job for them. So I think I'm just going to watch tape on both players and kind of write down my notes on both players and kind of prepare for both.
What do you take from last year's game, and are you watching any of that tape as well?
Yeah, same defense coordinator. They got a little bit different personnel, obviously, but we run sort of the same offense, where they might have the same game plan. They won that game, so they might have a little bit of confidence in that game. So yeah, I'll watch some tape on that, but I won't spend most of my time on it. I'll watch games from this year, because obviously they have a bunch of new players on defense.
And what did you take from that game last year?
We were playing for nothing, and we were in it. At that point in the season, it was the last game of the season. Guys just kind of went out there and played football, and you could see that we were in it. I think we were leading at halftime, which is no surprise for that year. And we just went out and just kind of executed the game plan. I think just pull that away from it, that we can play with them and we can have some fun doing it.
And, obviously not playing for nothing this year. The win's still obviously very important. But can you take kind of that same attitude going into this one, it being non-conference?
A little bit, but yeah, we obviously 3-3 is not where we want to be. We want to be closer to getting a bowl invitation, and for us, we know winning some non-conference games is going to be big for us, and this is our last chance at a non-conference game, and we're going to give it everything we got.
What's the mindset of the team right now? I mean, just from a confidence perspective, a couple of tough losses. I mean, how are you guys kind of feeling right now?
I think it's pretty good, to be honest. Even though, we've lost some heart wrenchers, I know there's some guys who obviously want Boise back, obviously want Arizona back and Colorado State back, but that's the beauty of the game we play, is you get another week, another opponent to kind of prove what you got. And so for us, we're just going to take all of our confidence we got, from the second half and all the good plays that we've made, and correct all the bad plays and go for there.
Questions for Brock? Well, Brock, we'll start with that play the other night that the guy got suspended for. Coach said to ask you about it. What do you remember about that play?
I just remember trying to push the pile, and then the next thing I know, I can't breathe and I'm on the ground. But I'm all right now, so we're good.
Did you have the wind knocked out of you?
Yeah, that's all it was.
What does Stewart do that makes your approach to this game different?
It's more of the offense in general. The defensive ends, in my position, they have to be really disciplined this week. As far as your surfs and how you attack that zone read. And so this is a big film week. This is going to be a lot of preparation, And this is going to be one of those times where we're mentally tested, just as much as we are physically tested.
I think Williams and Hill last year combined for quite a lot of yards. Are you guys taking that kind of personal going into this one?
We're just treating this as the next game. Right now, as far as our minds, we're 0-0. This is the next game, so it's the most important game in our eyes right now.
Brock, where's your confidence at?
Yeah, I'm completely confident in this team. If you look at every loss that we've had, I mean, they're great games. It's tough to say that when you lose. Obviously, I hate losing. But you look back on them, it's 7 points here, it's 5 points here, and, 7 points again. Those were all games easily could have won. So there's no reason for us or anyone in this program or organization or fans to lose faith in what we have. Our confidence is not down. It's just one of those things that, we're just getting ready to bounce back.
How do you fire up the guys out of
You show them what we could have had. You look at the last games, look, as demoralizing as those losses were, it was 7 points. It was a one-possession game. As tough as, Boise, Colorado State, those were close games. That just, if we had 5 minutes left on the clock, who knows what else would have happened. So you show them that, and then they realize, this season's not gone. We can still achieve all of the goals that we want. The season, we still have a lot of ball left. The season's still ahead of us. So by showing the guys that, there's no reason to be down in the dumps. They stay confident and they're ready to go play.
How important are these next two games on the road?
I'm looking at the first one. We'll get past that. But, any game that we play on from here on out for the rest of the season is extremely important because we're at 3-3. It's just one of those things that we don't have room for error anymore. We have to be on our A game, and we got our 3 little hiccups out of the season to over with, and so we're ready to come out victorious and play the best ball that we can.
What's the key, do you think, as far as you guys? You guys are pretty quick for a deep front. These guys are really big on their offensive front. Is that something you guys might be able to take advantage of in any way?
Oh, absolutely. Anytime you have an offensive line like they do, which is pretty amazing. There's some big guys. You can't attack them head up. Just purely, it's physics, man. We're not nearly that big. I'm not going to run straight down the middle of a guy who's 6'8", 335 pounds. I'm not going to win. So that's when you have to mix up your games. You have to work on your speed moves and not so much as power. I know in preparation for as a defensive line this week, we're going to be working, our stunts. We're going to be working our speed rushes. We're going to, back away from your powers, which is your bowl, your one-arm bowl, stuff like that we're not going to use that much this game.
Similar to the guys you went against in Arizona. Against their tackle, it's a pretty good tackle.
Yeah, it would be similar to that. Anytime you got a guy who's over 6'6" and over 315, you got to kind of change it up a little bit. We just got to make sure, we're strong, healthy, and, moving our feet as fast as we can.
Do you feel maybe that they've become a little more one-dimensional now that Hill is out?
Not necessarily. Do you know what? Their backup, he's good. He can still run the ball, still throw the ball well. They're not a team to be taken lightly. These guys are very disciplined. They work hard, and it's going to be a good game. I'm looking forward to it.
Obviously, Hill is a big loss for them. You faced him last year. What made him or makes him such a great player?
His ability to run that offense and the way he reads defenses. It's pretty amazing. I was watching the games from earlier this season. The guy just knows where everyone is on the field. He makes amazing throws, and then when it's not there, man, that guy takes off, and he's fast. He's breaking tackles, he's elusive, and the guy runs hard.
Have you watched last year's tape, and do you take anything from that game from last year?
I have not watched that yet. It'll probably be a Thursday or Friday thing that I just like to to get. I mean, we have a new D coordinator, we have a new game plan. Everything's different. It's just one of those things that I like to get, kind of that taste back in your mouth. That things didn't turn out the way that we had hoped last year. So it's kind of a little reminder of what you're going out fighting for. Just look what happened last time. Maybe there'll be similar tendencies. You never know. So it's just something I like to do later on in the week, right before we go play another team.
Anything else up front?
All right, thank you.
Questions for Jared?
Jared, you seem to be getting more and more involved with the offense almost on a week-to-week basis. Are you sensing that as well? Like, kind of a comfort level with the offense? Or?
Yes, I am. So I meet with some of the coaches. I met with some of them yesterday, and they basically just tell me that in order for this pistol offense to go, first of all, it has to start up front with the O-line, and then secondly, it comes from the tight end. So basically, I just take on the responsibility that this offense can't really run without the offensive line as well as the tight ends.
What do you think you guys have to do well Saturday to win this game?
We just basically have to go with the game plan our coaches do and just perform it to the best of our ability in order to come out with the win. We have to just play physical up front as the O-line.
Have you taken notice in the fact that they're pretty banged up? They're
Yeah.
their leading pass rusher, their defensive backfield.
Yes, the leading pass rusher, number 90. We've been told that he's pretty banged up, so we don't know if he's going to play or not. But we're still preparing to play him because you prepare for the best, and then you have someone different in there. I mean, you just go along with that. So yes. So like I said, we're preparing for their best.
Where do you think the team's mindset is right now after these two tough losses?
Just like my other two teammates said, we know what we could have had, but we know what we still have in front of us. So we're basically looking ahead to looking ahead to this game first, and then we have to take one game at a time.
Does this team need a win this week more than any of the previous weeks?
I mean, I say this game is just like any other game. We need this win, obviously. So we get the win. It'll just make us even more confident going into the Mountain West play, rest of the Mountain West play. Sorry.
Jared, where's your confidence at?
Well, my confidence is up there. Like I said, I talk to my coaches on a weekly basis after every game, before every game, and they just basically tell me to just keep improving on everything that I'm doing. So with them telling me that gives me confidence that they believe that I can do what they're telling me to do.
Coach Polian's been working on with you with the run game. What kind of things have they tried to talk to you and teach you about, improving your run blocking?
Oh yeah, so basically it just says remain physical. Just be physical in everything that I do when it comes to the run blocking. Take the first great step and just don't be afraid to stick your head in there and just keep driving your man out of the play.
Do you enjoy that aspect of it, the blocking side of being a tight end?
I enjoy it all. So I love, like I said, I signed up to play football, and football comes with being physical. So that's what I love to do.
You guys got quite the tight end pedigree to you guys in the NFL. Is that a lot to live up to?
It is a lot to live up to, but I keep in contact with every single one of those guys. Zach Sudfeld, Virgil Green. I talk to them. They just when I need help, I go to them and ask for help, and so they basically tell me the situations they've been in, and then they help me get through a situation that I'm in.
Is there any specific advice that you could share from one of those guys that they've given you?
Yeah, for Virgil Green, he just say, believe that no one can stop you from doing what you got to do. That's what Virgil Green tells me all the time.
These guys are obviously very big up front on the D front. You guys are fairly young across the offensive line. What kind of challenge do you think that might present for you guys?
I mean, obviously they're going to be bigger, like you said, and they've played the game a lot longer than us, and so with us being a younger offensive line, so basically we have to lean on what the coaches tell us to do, just perform it to the best of your ability with the right technique, remain low. They basically say pad level is going to be the thing to do this game, so we have to have a low pad level and just remain physical on every block.
Anything else for Jared? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.